Goblins are bad news.
The Styx games from Cyanide Studio have always done a great job of simulating the down and dirty exploits of a foul-mouthed goblin assassin. While Cyanide has been busy over the last decade or so with Games Workshop's bizarre take on the NFL and a bunch of mediocre World of Darkness vampire games, the Green Menace has finally returned for his third starring role. Actually, it's his fourth appearance, if anybody remembers Of Orcs and Men. Anybody?
Me.
You.
Me.
No? No one else?
Like the previous two games, Blades of Greed is a cinematic stealth action adventure with a one more try approach that feels like a throwback to the third-person adventures of the early 2000s. Think Splinter Cell with a lot more swear words and cartoon shenanigans and a lot less doing splits in hallways.
There is, however, a lot more hanging off of window ledges, which I very much appreciate. We touched on a demo of Blades in our last video about Goblin games, which did quite poorly on YouTube here. But wouldn't you know it, not even 3 days later, a review key for the full game mysteriously appeared in our inbox. The embargo's over, the veil of secrecy has dropped away, so we can finally share our full thoughts after spending 20 plus hours inside of the sequel. Styx fans like us have been waiting a long time for another chapter in the saga.
Don't make that weird, Styx.
But is Blades of Greed worth the 9-year wait?
Just for that, I'm going to keep it to myself until the last possible moment.
As always, you can support us at the Heroes table like these fine Patreons here if you want to help us make more videos like this, or simply hit all the buttons down there. It helps out more than you know. But for now, let's sharpen up our daggers, stretch out those rusty robbery muscles, and slip back into the ragged leather hood of our favorite hook-nosed protagonist.
Yeah, sure. Let's do the right thing or whatever.
My name is Boss Sauce.
And I'm Roland Coons. And together,
We are the two-headed hero. In the last few games, our grubby little hero exposed a massive conspiracy behind a series of experiments involving innocent goblins and magical amber, revealing the truth that he's the only one of his kind that evolved beyond cave creature savagery. Blades begins aboard an airship right where the last game left off during a climactic duel with his dark elven rival, Jarek. But your battle is rudely interrupted by a big stone kaiju batting the airship out of the sky. Kinda like a big old kitty playing with a little toy.
Aw, cute. A reasonably annoyed Styx hops aboard the golem to take it down, and he manages to do so by absorbing a big blue Jolly Rancher in the golem's belly.
But just as the Jolly Rancher juice enters his goblin-y bloodstream, Styx awakens a mysterious force.
Peculiar creature.
So, you know, intrigue. Jarek and your human guardsman, Heladrin, put their differences aside to make a getaway, only to crash the airship deep within Inquisition territory, a magically fueled regime full of wizard Nazis that make it a point to hate everybody that's not a full-blooded human. Somehow they've harnessed the power of Big Blue Jolly Ranchers, the Quartz, to fuel their terrifying tech and further their goals of global domination.
The quartz is an admittedly lazy name for a magical rock.
Well, the last one was amber, so I'm feeling like they're just going down the list. You know, everyone's birthstone, here we go. What's the magic power it has?
It's up to Styx and his crew of comrades to find a way out of the capital W wall and snatch up the capital Q quartz chunks for themselves. Maybe figuring out the nature of that mysterious force that's been locked away in the gems during the process.
Blades of Darkness feels familiar for anybody used to stealth action games. Styx gets a lot of his old abilities back from the previous games. He's highly mobile and has a double jump, ledge grab, shimmy, and some cover ducking, paired with takedowns that he pulls off like a pint-sized Adam Jensen. It feels quite heavy and impactful and honestly brutal every time you drag a guard over a ledge or jump on their backs and give them a taste of the shank.
On the other hand, Styx is also really fragile. This is the stumpy little green weirdo that just took down a kaiju-sized golem and parried a dark elf sword with ease, but Jerry the guardsman can still chop him up in like 2 or 3 strikes. What's worse, it seems that the parry mechanic has been removed from the gameplay, so there's one less option when you get cornered by a guard.
Instead, we get a sort of dodge and weave lock-on system that lets us do a Dark Souls dance with the guards. A perfect dodge opens them up to a one-hit takedown, which feels pretty on-brand and satisfying when you can pull it off. In theory, this is a much more on-theme alternative to the parrying mechanic from the prior game, and being able to 1v1 the occasional cornered guard is a pretty good idea. But in practice, this feels incredibly dicey, especially when fighting the big boys. You'll need to be keenly aware of your surroundings to make sure you have enough room to dodge that hammer swing or risk being pulped.
Good riddance.
Speaking to this, I really wish the front half of Blades had some more enemy variety outside of different flavors of human guard. Maybe they have a suit of armor or the occasional crossbow or a Darth Vader choke, but ultimately it feels like you're killing the same 3 guards from the front third of the game. About 6 hours in, you'll get some relief. Hordes of deadly beetles and swarms of, other kinds of beetles start to mix up the encounters, as well as ever deadlier Inquisition troops, mutated elves, even exploding goblins at one point.
Damn.
Many more strange and wonderful things await for Styx to drop a crate on. Blades of Greed gives Styx a skill tree full of familiar amber-fueled powers as featured in his last adventures. He can still turn invisible, see in the dark, spit poison, even barf out a clone to harass guards while making his own hasty exit.
What was that? I'm gonna take a look. What was this way? Was that there? An intruder! Somebody here, a goblin!
But Blades of Greed also adds a new host of abilities fueled by that special little stone we hugged in the introduction. The new quartz powers can provide some massive advantages like perfect parries, teleports, and mind control, but the game is pretty stingy with doling out the quartz chunks you'll need to unlock these. It's a shame you won't be seeing any of them until the end of Act 1, because once you start to synergize your amber abilities with quartz powers, Styx becomes a formidable force. I found myself mostly sticking with the clone and the cloak for the largest portion of the game since they're really handy and an absolute blast to mess around with, and there were plenty of times where I'd save skull just to mess around with some wackier approaches. The game encourages this on the loading screens and binds a controller button to quick save by default. And scum you shall, my friends, because Styx is gonna be dying a lot.
It's over. Back to your post.
Special items are part of the arsenal here, but still few and far between. Poison darts, acid vials, and the like need to be specially crafted or found laying around the massive, secret-strewn levels. But glass bottles and fistfuls of pocket sand thankfully make a comeback, and both are common enough. Love to see it, love to put it in my little goblin pockets.
Dig that!
Pocket sand.
Collectible blueprints for upgrading all these tools lie scattered around through the levels, and collectible magic runes provide some passive abilities. Both of these serve to refine your playstyle, whether you want to be more sneaky, more goblin-y, more murderous, or something in between. There's also a light RPG system with expandable skill trees for each of Styx's core talents, but in a clever touch, Styx only levels up when he's stealing something. So rather than rewarding the player for clever murdery hijinks, experience points are directly tied to acts of thievery. These mechanics give you all the more reason to carefully poke around in the game's dark corners, scrounging up coins and little emblems wherever you might find them. Blades of Greed is a real treat for explorers. Levels are interconnected with this appealing little model city map that takes you from location to location via a hot air balloon. It's a visually striking detail that gives you an overview of each area before you ever step a clawed toe onto it yourself. Levels here are expansive, and they take on an open approach that lets the player tackle objectives or scout for secrets in pretty much any order they choose. Speaking to the mission designs themselves, they're all pretty interesting and varied. Sometimes you're going to need to creep your way through nest after nest of voracious jungle insects, while other times you're going to have to shut down manufacturing centers or break into merchant ships, all in pursuit of that shiny blue mineral.
Hey, that's mine.
Styx also carries a couple of new tools on his belt. The quartz compass adds a diegetic pointer to the closest piece of magical rock candy, so you can puzzle out the best way to snatch it up without getting too lost or overwhelmed. There's also a new grappling hook that helps Styx get around the levels more quickly. Unfortunately, this tool has a somewhat undercooked game feel, and outside of combat, it's a little bit disappointing that you can only grapple to the specifically video game coded yellow cloth outcroppings. Both of these devices turn out to be really handy due to the more open design of the sprawling sky fortresses you'll find throughout the game. If you can see something interesting in the distance, chances are there's a way to get over there.
Guess that just means more to explore. Now, let's see what this messed up place has to offer.
You'll find Styx crawling over, under, and through each of the massive interconnected levels, looking for bits of treasure, secret routes, and environmental traps to spring on some unsuspecting humies. It's incredibly satisfying to drop a crate on a bunch of armored chumps or barf in a beefy boy's beer tankard. This is friggin' Agent 47 gone Looney Tunes. True Goblin simulation stuff right here.
However, there's not a very wide range of interactive objects to spring on your unlucky victims. You might think that the novelty would wear a bit thin once you've popped out of the barrel a few times or dropped your 5th or 6th crate on somebody's head. Oh wait, no it doesn't.
Unfortunately, like the other Styx and Cyanide games, there's a decent amount of jank.
We might have a few things to talk about.
Cutscenes are plagued by weird momentary cuts where stuff seems to be loading for a split second. There's some clipping issues with doors and certain environmental objects that can make some of the high up jumps feel a bit dicey, and performance issues common to UE5 could be found popping up here and there.
Performance is also pretty bad across the board. Styx seems to be developed for a PC that doesn't exist yet. I ended up doing a lot of fiddling around to get things running okay in 4K 60 FPS, and basically just dropped the detail. For some reason, the developers thought it would be wise to put a recommended spec sheet that has 720p 30 and 1080p 60 FPS as the targets for low and high. At first I thought this might be a joke considering the source, but it turned out to be more of a red flag. Who's even playing in 720p anymore? Do they still make TVs that do that?
You're just being an asshole for no reason.
Even after messing around with various visual settings, it seems that a lot of the post-processing looks a bit off. There's a weird depth of field halo effect surrounding characters in cutscenes at times, or even blurring your goblin-y boy during gameplay. And as far as I can tell, there's no way to turn off the motion blur short of digging around in the game's files. On the bright side though, once you get past the dodgy performance issues, the presentation here is really strong. Designs are a novel mix of steampunk, airpunk tech, and dark fantasy sword and magic stuff. I usually call this a steam and sorcery design philosophy, and I can get down with that here. On the audio side, Styx features a killer soundtrack. It's really good. There's strings, mandolins, pianos, and bouncy orchestral beats that really lean into the comedic overtone of the game, while also bringing out the darker moments.
The wealth of well-produced cutscenes reminded me of the best PS2 stealth action games from the past, and it's a nice choice to feature an ensemble cast here.
Had some plans of my own. Who's your friend?
The dwarves are fun additions.
What's in it for you?
You mean apart from getting back at those Inquisition assholes for their very, very thorough interrogations? Professional curiosity.
One's a techie and the other is a pirate captain.
What? I'm paid up till tomorrow. Fuck off.
Oh, no, you don't.
Very dwarfish. Having the grumpy human knight and dark elf rival from the last game suddenly switching allegiances is an interesting dynamic to start the plot with, too. Overall, this plays into the dark fantasy and dry humor tones, and feels like stepping into the middle of a classic adventure film.
There's also a lot of voice acting of varying quality. Love the casual guard conversations you can eavesdrop in on. Sometimes they even provide useful clues.
How the fuck am I supposed to control this? One slip and it'll fall to my deck.
Guard chatter like this is an excellent throwback to the Thief series. However, it's also pretty funny how most of the guards and townspeople have pronounced American accents.
I can't wait to be back in my bed.
Are you kidding? You barely do anything. You just look out. Get a grip.
Which seems just like a weird choice for a fantasy game.
Let's go to the tavern later, partner.
Many characters also suffer from a case of voice don't match the face.
Doesn't mean it was all bad.
Maybe, maybe not. It doesn't matter anymore.
The huge guards sound really tiny, which is actually really funny.
Don't hurt me, please.
Here,
What's
a
this
goblin.
now?
Die, you monster!
And when we finally get around to meeting an orc, well, Ren the Orc Shaman doesn't sound very orcish. More nervous schoolgirl than wise priestess vibes.
Curse the Empire. I thought Mother Earth had forsaken us, but maybe she's answered my prayers.
Not sure if the fault here is with the script, the casting, or the direction. Many of these actors sound competent or talented enough, but there's the occasional stilted delivery that makes the story seem rushed and uneven.
Priest Geoffroy, the orc is nowhere to be found. What are your orders? Priest Geoffroy? Priest Geoffroy?
Call off the search.
Saul Jeffcott's return in the starring role is a standout, though.
I'm a simple goblin.
Styx delivers the same snappy comebacks and gruff insults that we've grown to know and love over the years, and most of the returning cast backs him up beautifully over the game's extensive cutscenes. But there's a lot of places where Styx Blades of Greed really chipped my dagger. The first mission in the game is all about stealing an airship to use as your base, which sounds awesome! But unfortunately, there's just not much to do here. There's not even a quiet spot to rest and kick up your oversized goblin feet between missions. All we get is a few places to pick up a couple pieces of loot, and occasionally a new side quest from one of your compatriots. Some more lines of dialogue or story background here, anything would have been great.
What? I see. Styx.
Also, there's no more co-op, so you can't tag in a buddy to control your clones. This was one of the most fun parts of the previous game. Causing chaos as a pair of goblins and coordinating your takedowns was an absolute blast, and the removal of the co-op features is really disappointing. But I think overall the worst grievance we have with Blades of Greed is just the general lack of polish. The performance issues, the rough animations and collision problems, even the typos kind of all point to a lack of time and money to get this thing out the door. This is a budget game, sure, but after 9 years, I guess I was hoping for a bit more refinement.
What the fuck?
It tends to feel like a throwback to the PS360 era mechanically, which can be neither good or bad on its own, it's just how it is. I can see why this might be a disappointment for some people, but for those that have just been waiting for some more Styx missions to play, well, that's exactly what you get here. To the game's credit, there's a huge wealth of stuff to collect, powers to unlock, and secrets to discover. This is at least a 15 to 20 hour experience, depending on how much of a completionist you want to be. Blades of Greed offers a lot to stealth action fans despite the complaints, if you have a decent enough PC to run it, that is. Console gamers might actually fare better here since Blades of Greed is clearly geared towards that audience. And without a new Splinter Cell in sight, and Metal Gear resigning itself to remakes, the Styx franchise is one of the few remaining ones out there that's still making new experiences for sneaking fans. It's clear that Blades of Greed could have used more time developing in the cocoon to wrangle the inconsistencies of Unreal Engine 5, but it's also impossible to deny that the Styx series continues to be the best goblin murder hobo simulation that money can buy. Fans of the series that are willing to look past its flaws are going to find a whole new world of adventure to experience alongside their favorite green protagonist.
Now that's what I like to hear.
What's your favorite game where you play as a weird little guy? Let us know down below.
If you want to keep the fires burning in our humble tavern, pull up a stool over at our Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Early video access, bonus materials, and special Discord roles are just some of the benefits you'll receive by supporting us directly. Plus, you'll get your name shouted in the credits, like the brave champions here.
Wolfgang Bristol,
Kalagufso,
Adam Uselman,
Amelie McNamara,
James Blake,
Yaroslav Rybaki,
Jim DiFrancesco,
Vulpes,
Cameron Froment,
Dominic Nguyen,
John Williams,
Mahogany God King,
Mirek Hotovi,
San Lunette,
Thorben Pelzer,
and all the rest.
If I've mispronounced your name, please let me know.
Thank you all so much for the Patreon support, the Ko-Fi donations, YouTube memberships, and super thanks. It really helps us out more than you know, because YouTube's getting pretty tough lately. But if you're waiting on that next big payday from pickpocketing adventurers and snatching up gems, you can also help us out by touching all the buttons down there and dropping a little comment to let us know what you'd like to see next. We also have a Discord server that's open to the public, where we hang out and chat, and host regular gaming events of both the virtual tabletop and video game variety. Right now, we're in the middle of an orc board campaign. It's been really fun to hang out with some of the patrons.
In the meantime, check out this big giant playlist on screen. There's plenty more reviews and recommendations in there, as well as a whole lot of stupid jokes. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next Two-Headed Hero.